Everyone. My name is Lauren Fardig-Diop, and I am a teacher at ACE, which is a high school that is within Ypsilanti Community Schools. ACE is an alternative high school, so that means that it is a kind of family-centered environment where we really try to make sure we take care of not only students' academic needs, but just really take care of our students and staff as people and really get to know what everybody wants and needs to be happy and really try to do what we can to create a strong community. So I am an English teacher. When you guys get to high school, you will go to different classes, and instead of having literacy and math and science be all together with one teacher or a couple teachers in your classroom, you will have one English teacher, and then you'll move classrooms and go to your math class. And so things are a little bit different when you're in high school. But so I teach English, which is reading, writing, speaking, and listening. We listen to a lot of music in my class. We watch a lot of videos. We try to have a really good time as we're reading things and discussing things. And so I am excited to read a book to you guys. So I grew up actually in Ann Arbor, so right next door to Ypsilanti. I went to Abbott Elementary School on the northwest side of Ann Arbor. My parents moved there when I was 5, so I actually was born in Detroit and lived in Detroit when I was younger, and then moved to Ann Arbor when I was in kindergarten. I have 2 degrees. So I went to the New School for Social Research in New York City for my bachelor's degree. That was my first degree. When I was done with high school, I moved to New York. I studied education, so I studied, the art of teaching, and because I knew I wanted to be a teacher. And I also studied English because I wanted to become a poet. And I am a poet and a writer and a published author as well. And then I came back to Michigan to get my master's degree in education. So I have 2 degrees from college, which is pretty cool. So today I am going to read a book to you guys called Rad American Women, A to Z. I love the cover. It's really colorful and cool, and there's some really awesome illustrations of some incredible women. It's written by Kate Schatz and illustrated by Miriam Kleinstahl. So this book, I just wanted to explain it a little bit. There are kind of longer stories about each of the wonderful women in this book, but I'm just going to read kind of a little teaser about each person as we move through the ABCs of some rad women. So, and I'm sorry, it's Rad American Women because, of course, there are incredible women from all over the world, but we're focusing on some American women. So I will go ahead and get started. A is for Angela Davis, who never backs down from the fight for justice. Make sure I show you each person. Angela Davis was born in 1944 in Birmingham, Alabama, into a neighborhood known as Dynamite Hill because a group of racist white men called the Ku Klux Klan often bombed the homes of the Black families who lived there. Angela Davis grew up to be an incredible activist, educator, and she was also a member of the Black Panther Party as well. So she is pretty incredible, and she's still alive today, and she teaches and does amazing, amazing work to help people, to help families kind of overcome the struggle of prison, and to try to get people who are in prison out. B is for Billie Jean King. Billie Jean King, who showed the world what female athletes can do. Billie Jean King was 12 years old when she had her first tennis lesson, and she knew right away that she wanted to play tennis for the rest of her life. By 1973, she was the top female tennis player in the world and had won more than 30 Grand Slam titles. It's Billie Jean King. C is for Carol Burnett, who showed us that funny women can make it big. There wasn't much to laugh about during Carol Burnett's childhood, but she managed anyhow, thanks to her great imagination and quirky sense of humor. D is for Dolores Huerta. who demands dignity and justice for farm workers. Dolores Huerta was raised in Stockton, California by a hardworking single mother. Dolores was an excellent student, and after she graduated from high school, she became an elementary school teacher. And she is known for fighting for justice for American farm workers who are working in the fields and not getting the kind of payment or benefits that they deserve for their very hard work. So she was a very important activist. E is for Ella Baker, who shaped the civil rights movement from behind the scenes. Ella Baker was one of the most important people in the civil rights movement, but she's not the most famous, and that's how she liked it. I think it's really important that sometimes people are in the background doing really important work, and they don't always need to be in the spotlight. I am that way as well. F is for Flojo, Florence Griffith Joyner, who showed us how to run like a girl. One day in school, Florence Griffith's teacher asked her what she wanted to be when she grew up. Everything, she said. I want to be everything. I love that so much. G is for the Grimke sisters, who devoted their lives to the pursuit of freedom and equity for all. Angelina and Sarah Grimke were sisters who were born 12 years apart, but they were like twins when it came to their commitment to ending slavery. H is for Hazel Scott, whose many talents helped her blaze a bright trail. One day when Hazel Scott was a very little girl, she walked up to the piano and began to play a church hymn. Hazel hadn't been taught to play the piano yet, and her mother, a piano teacher, watched in awe as Hazel played every note perfectly. I is for Isadora Duncan, who showed us the power of imagination and originality. Dreamer, rebel, free spirit, visionary. Isadora Duncan was all of these and more. With her flowing costumes, innovative ideas, and graceful movements, Isadora invented a new style of dance. J is for Jovita Idar, who believed in free and equal education for all children. Jovita Idar was many things during her lifetime, including a nurse, a journalist, an editor, and a political activist. She was also a teacher who believed that all children had the right to a good education, no matter how much money their parents had or what language they spoke. I agree with Ms. Jovita. I think it's very, very important that everybody has access to an incredible education. K is for Kate Bornstein, who reminds us to bravely claim our true identity. Kate Bornstein was born a healthy baby boy named Albert in 1948. Her parents raised her just like all the other boys in their small New Jersey town. But Kate knew early on that something wasn't right. She just didn't feel like a boy. So Kate is a transgender activist and one of the first folks who were out in that way. And that is very, very important, to be who you truly are, even if society does not always agree. L is for Lucy Parsons, who fought for the rights of workers and poor people. Lucy Gonzalez Parsons was born in Texas during the Civil War era. She was of Native American, Mexican, and African American ancestry. Little is known about her early years, but her parents might have been slaves. M is for Maya Lynn, who makes big ideas into beautiful art. Maya Lin's parents came to America from China just before Maya was born. As a child, she loved to play by herself, using her imagination as she explored nature and played in her dad's ceramic studio. N is for Nellie Bly, who changed the face of journalism and world travel. Nellie Bly's real name was Elizabeth Cochran, but as a famous writer and adventurer, she was known as Nellie. No matter what she was called, one thing was for sure. She was a rebel who knew how to write. O is for Odetta, who led the way with her powerful voice. When Odetta Holmes was 7 years old, her family moved from Birmingham, Alabama to Los Angeles, California in search of a better life. P is for Patty Smith, who put the poetry in punk rock. When she was young, Patti Smith didn't seem much like a future rock star. She was shy, skinny, and awkward, and often sick. Despite all that, she believed in herself. Q is for Queen Bessie Coleman, who soared above discrimination. Bessie Coleman was 11 years old and living in Texas when the Wright brothers completed the first successful airplane flight in 1903. She read stories about these flying machines, and she dreamed of soaring through the air herself. R is for Rachel Carson, who taught us how to respect and protect the earth. When Rachel Carson was a young girl, she discovered a fossilized seashell buried in a hill on her family's farm. Curious, Rachel wanted to know all about it. How old was it? How did it end up in rural Pennsylvania when the ocean was so far away? S is for Sonia Sotomayor, who reminds us to be fair and fierce all at once. Sonia Sotomayor was raised in a housing project in the Bronx in the 1950s. Her parents came to New York City from Puerto Rico, where they both only had limited opportunities for education. They didn't speak much English, and they worked so hard so they could send Sonia and her brother to a good school. Sonia Sotomayor is the first Puerto Rican woman to be on the U.S. Supreme Court. So she is a justice on the Supreme Court, and she is very awesome. T is for Temple Grandin, who shows us the power of a brilliant mind. Temple Grandin's parents knew she was different when she was still a baby. She didn't talk, laugh, or make eye contact, and she had enormous tantrums. So Temple is someone who has autism, and she struggled with that a lot in her early life. But she became a very incredible, successful woman, and she worked with farmers to communicate and kind of take care of animals in a better way. And she's also a doctor, so she's written books, she's a college professor, and she's given speeches all around the world. So just because she didn't speak when she was younger doesn't mean that she couldn't have a successful life, and that's what she proves. U is for Ursula K. Le Guin, whose books show us that other worlds are possible. Ursula K. Le Guin grew up in Berkeley, California, the child of two well-known anthropologists. Her family home was a gathering place for scientists, students, writers, and all sorts of interesting people. And she is a science fiction writer, so she writes about other worlds, and she writes about, things that maybe haven't happened yet in the future. And she writes incredible books, so you should definitely check out her writing as well. V is for Virginia Apgar, whose invention saved lives every single day. Virginia Apgar grew up in a creative household. She played violin and cello and spent time doing experiments with her science-loving dad. And her invention that they're talking about is that she created a test for newborn babies to see if they were healthy. And we still use the Apgar test on newborns to make sure that they're healthy today. W is for Wilma Mankiller, who led her people with strength and courage. When Wilma Mankiller was growing up, her family's little wooden shack didn't have indoor plumbing, running water, or electricity. What they did have was a strong, close-knit community and a connection to their Cherokee tribe. X is for the women whose names we don't know. It's for the women we haven't learned about yet, and the women whose stories we will never read. X is for the women whose voices weren't heard, for the women who aren't in the history books or the halls of fame on postage stamps and coins, for the women who didn't get credit for their ideas and inventions. X is for all that we don't know about the past, but X is also for the future. X marks the spot where we stand today. What will you do to make the world rad? Y is for Yuri Kochiyama, who fought for the rights of all people. During the 1930s, Yuri Kochiyama was a typical California teenager. She played tennis, taught Sunday school, and loved the red, white, and blue. She is Japanese American, and in 1941, after there was a big bombing that happened, Japanese Americans had to go and live in concentration camps, and they were actually imprisoned. And so it was a really tough time, and she was able to get through that and fighting for the rights of her people. Z is for Zora Neale Hurston, who captured the stories and voices of many generations. Zora Neale Hurston's mother encouraged her children to always jump at the sun. It was good advice and just what the bold, brash Zora did. And she has written incredible books. One of her books that she wrote that's my favorite is called Their Eyes Were Watching God. And this is one of my favorite books that kind of talks about some amazing women. You can definitely check it out, maybe find it at the library, or go visit Blackstone Books, or find other ways to connect with books. Thank you guys so much for letting me read with you today. I had a lot of fun, and I hope that you guys enjoyed learning about some new rad American women. Have a great day and happy reading. Keep reading.